In the Middle Ages, the voice of woman was almost non-existent, despite the fact they made up at least half of the world's population. Women in this time period were often held at a much lower social standing than men. For hundreds of years, society believed that a woman's purpose in life was to reproduce and become a homemaker. Giovanni Boccaccio changed the perception of woman considerably by being one of the first of his time to document the lives of women through his writing in the Middle Ages. Boccaccio's Decameron is partly responsible for equalizing the roles of men and women. The Decameron is a story about 10 people that flee from plague-stricken Florence to the countryside, and to keep themselves busy, they tell 100 stories over 10 days to ride out the plague. In this video, we will touch on two of the different voices women take on in Boccaccio's Decameron. Scholar Caitlin E. Williams explains he chooses to document the lives of women in their early Renaissance as well as praise them for their independent acts of wit and intelligence. However, he does not directly choose a position advocating or condemning these women. Boccaccio seeks to explore the dynamics between men and women in society without choosing to create any such position to encourage social change. On one hand, Boccaccio could be seen as a feminist before his time because of his choice to document the lives of women. Though he does not directly advocate for women's rights, women are often given the upper hand in most aspects of the male-female relationships presented. For example, we see chivalrous acts in the story of Fidergio degli Alberighi and the Falcon, when Fidergio sacrifices his beloved falcon to feed the woman of his dreams and win her over. Fidergio gave up his most prized and loved possession, the falcon, so that he may have the chance with the woman that has already given him almost all of his fortune to. It was this act of generosity that helped him get the girl. On the other hand, Boccaccio has also incorporated acts of sexual violence and rape culture, giving women a completely different voice. For example, in the story of Nastasio degli Onesti, Nastasio, a nobleman, falls for Paolo Traversari's daughter, who is of higher social standings than Nastasio, and thus out of his league. After several failed attempts to win her over, all which failed due to the woman's vanity and pleasure she got out of Nastasio's unhappiness, Nastasio finally gives up and moves away. One day, when Nastasio is in the woods, he witnesses a brutal scene, a naked woman being chased after by a knight accompanied by a pack of dogs, the dogs tearing at her flesh. When Nastasio asks the knight why he would commit such an act, the knight tells him that he and the damsel were both dead, but when they were alive, the damsel relentlessly turned him down for the sole reason of the pleasure she felt from his pain. The knight had become so miserable that he killed himself. The damsel was so overjoyed that she had caused the knight to do so that she died too. Now the two are condemned to relive the whole event in the woods over and over. The damsel was not to be his adored lady, but his enemy. And then the knight slew the woman with his sword and took out her heart of stone and fed it to the dogs. Then the woman got up as if nothing had happened and started to run again, and the dogs and the knight chased after her.
Astagio contemplates this and realizes he could devise a way for his beloved to see it, so that she will change her mind and love him. He has a big feast the next Friday for her and her family. The event happens as planned, and she decides she doesn't want the same fate as the damsel, so she marries to Astagio. From then on, all the ladies of the land were much more submissive to the wishes of the men. Traversaro's daughter starts off as an independent character. She's very headstrong and self-willed as she turns away Astagio several times. Astagio's threat towards Traversaro's daughter could have been seen as an act of sexual violence, or at least harassment. This story shows us the societal norms of the time. When women tried to be of their own agency, they were severely punished. When the damsel tries to have her own way, to not marry the man she does not want, she is subject to unspeakable violence by the ruling of some divine power. So why was this happening back then? Women weren't seen as equals to men. They were seen as commodities used to transfer wealth and power from men to men, or to prolong the family name as reproducers. Men didn't understand their attraction to women. They saw this as a weakness and crushed this frailty by dominating women. Men also didn't understand women's ability to reproduce. They couldn't do this, and the only other thing that they knew could was the earth. And in agriculture, you must tame the earth and make it do what you want it to. So similarly, they decided to do this to women. Scholar Caitlin Williams said Boccaccio doesn't want to suggest that women are dependent on men, but rather that society enforces the idea that a company of women would not be happy travelers without the addition of some male companions. Why is gender inequality happening today? This is happening today because of how women and men are portrayed in media. Women are supposed to look and act a certain way, to be beautiful, frail, and fertile, while men are supposed to be strong, powerful, and protective. Now that the two major voices of women in Boccaccio's Decameron have been unpacked from these two stories, we can see that Boccaccio didn't take a single position on the roles of women in society of his day. Instead, he gave a glimpse of both and may have been the first to take this impartial view.